Hello, beautiful people. I'm Chris Maddox. I'm the founder of the Wild Woman Project and Wild Woman Fest. And I speak to you today because I always speak to you at new moon time, and the new moon is upon us. The new moon arrives on October 19th, and it calls in a moon cycle that will last us all the way until November 17th. So this period of time between October 19th and November 17th becomes a chunk of time we can think of like a chapter or like a leg of our journey. And as with any sort of new chapter, new endeavor, it behooves us to take a moment for reflection and to just sort of enter into this new phase with maybe some intention, some clarity, some good questions, so that this new cycle, this new chapter, this new leg becomes fertile ground for discovery and growth and creativity. However, that shows itself, whatever form it takes. So here at the Wild Woman Project, we are in this big theme. It's like this pretty big theme. We just started it last moon cycle. And it's the theme of our entire year. And our year began on the last new moon and will end or sort of culminate at the 5th annual Wild Woman Fest. So this is like Wild Woman Project years. So in this whole time, through the end of next summer, we are in this series called In the Flesh, Whole Body, Whole Earth, where we are together focusing on how we can move from an orientation where we are constantly spending our precious energy and our thoughts and even our resources thinking about, how do I look? How do I look? So really seeing ourselves like standing outside of ourselves and looking towards ourselves and saying, how do I look? And from this point, and from this outside vantage point, I'm going to, make choices, live my life and sort of be in this constant state of objectifying myself. This is a pattern that a lot of us have, constantly seeing ourselves or thinking of ourselves from the outside. How are we being perceived? Okay, so we're shifting from that sort of orientation of really like self-objectification to an orientation which says, how do I feel? How do I feel? What is going on inside of me? Who am I? What do I want? How do I want to live? What do I want to create? What do I want to heal? Whatever the thing is, and have our vantage point be centered, anchored inside of our own bodies. Inside of our own bodies. And it's a very powerful vantage point. And we're able from that vantage point to use that precious energy and those thought forms and those actions that are really geared towards, thinking about pleasing other people or worrying about what other people think. We're able to use all that energy for who knows what. Like that is unutilized potential that we now have in our bodies. So that's our aim, and it's actually quite a journey because we're used to objectifying ourselves. Women's bodies have been objected in this culture for eons. We were literally property before. The marriage ceremony was a handing over of property. So we have a process around this. And even sort of like the most awakened or woke human beings that intellectually understand that women are valuable and that their bodies have wisdom in them, have a lot of integration to do. As myself included, have a lot of integration to do. I understand it in theory, but I want to get it on a cellular level, and I want that to be something that is ingrained and unshakable. And so this is kind of like, this is the journey that we're on this year. So with this new moon in Libra on October 19th, what we're going to do is we're actually focusing on a very specific part of our body. We're focusing on our skin. In our skin is the name. So the skin is so rich for feeling, for contemplation. Like you can look at your own skin right now or touch your own skin right now. The skin is the most clear boundary between out there and in here. It is a sensing organ, constantly perceiving what's going on in our environment, temperatures, and it's a huge, like enormous, one like sensory, enormous organ, our skin. So we're going to be really focusing on our skin and focusing on how we might be able to feel like ourselves in our skin, really and truly. Like every time the brain wants to pop out and not be inside of the body, not be inside of this like sensing or wake into the sensing organ of the skin, that we draw it back in and say, okay, how's my skin feeling? Right now, ask yourself, how's my skin feeling? You can feel a lot. You can feel a lot. You can feel what's moving around you. When you're walking, you can feel the air across your skin. You can feel sunshine coming down, water, like whatever you're experiencing in your physical reality, like you are often experiencing it first, like through your skin, in terms of the body, through your skin. The skin is so much a meeting place for where we meet the world. Where we meet the world, it's like, over here inside of this skin, there's only you. And out there is like the vast universe, and there's every person that you meet or shake hands with, the children in your life that you love and you pick up, your lover who you make love to, every passing moment, we're meeting at the skin. We're meeting at the skin constantly and constantly. So in so many ways, the skin has a lot to do with the relational aspect of self. The relational aspect of self. And when we really tap into being in our own skin, when we meet a person and we shake their hand or maybe give them a hug if that's what we want to do, there's so much that can be revealed on the subtle level between you and that person, between your understanding of what's going on. So the skin is a really sweet contemplation for our first one, the first body part, because, last moon cycle, we were just sort of introducing this idea of like just generally being in the body. Now we're like zooming in on the skin. And this is a good first one because not only is it the outermost layer of our physical body, but it also, our skin, the way we feel in our skin or don't feel in our skin, the way we view our skin, the way we view the skins of others, there's a lot that has to do with the relational aspect of human life. And we are relational creatures. Relationship is a huge part of our experience on earth. We're not here alone. We're not living in a bubble. We're dancing. We're dancing with all these human beings around us. And our skin is one of the first ways that we meet people. You cannot talk about skin. We cannot think about skin without remembering, acknowledging, honoring, contemplating, writing about, drawing about, crying about the ways in which the civilization that we live in the Western world, and unfortunately largely all over the world, is a system that's based in white supremacy. And that's a history that we have to face. We have to understand that in the past and in the present, there are people in the world who look at the skin color of another human being and use that as some sort of a measuring tool and permission to oppress. My hope, my dream, and I know I'm not alone in this, is that we are going to, by continually facing this issue and looking to every corner of our lives to figure out where is this pattern of white supremacy ingrained into the system, ingrained into my thought process, ingrained into a judgment, ingrained into, and just face it and face it and face it and face it until maybe eventually, one day, we can heal our very, very, very troubled past with this. So it's something I want to acknowledge and bring awareness to as you're in this contemplation of skin. As you think about what it feels like to live in your own skin out of compassion for the other human beings on the planet, it's worthy exploration to think about what it might feel like, what it might be like, what it might be like to live in the skin of somebody else. So that's an interesting sort of contemplation that we can bring in and work with and through for this moon cycle and beyond. You can also not talk about skin as a woman without looking at the multi-billion-dollar anti-aging industry. So there's a big market for there's a big market for the reversal of time and the reversal of life on the physical body, specifically the skin. For a lot of women, there's a lot of marketing that's kind of constantly coming at us that wants to help you get rid of your wrinkles and your spots on your skin and whatever blemishes you might have. And I laugh. It's not funny, but it's ridiculous is what it is. And it's so over the top. And I think it's so really, really very much ingrained that I do take it seriously. So it's a worthy contemplation for us as we begin to think about how we feel in our own skin, is to think about how do we feel as our skin ages with time? And these wrinkles of ours, what are they? What do they represent to you? When you see a wrinkle on your face, or you see loose skin on your arm, or on your breast, or on your belly, how do you feel? And I think we have to face that feeling too. There's this thing that we've been taught in our culture, just take youth and put it up on this major pedestal, which is bananas because everybody's aging. You are older today than you were yesterday. And that'll be the same thing that's true tomorrow. It's the same thing that's true in this moment compared to the last moment. So we are all gonna die. The physical body is going to die. And, I think a lot of our anti-aging craze and obsession and industry has to do with a fundamental fear of death, which is a reality of life. So our skin can be a catalyst for us to be thinking about this, because my God, to look in the mirror and every time you see yourself to feel a sense of shame, that's your precious energy. That's your precious heart. That's your feelings. We need you. And I prefer to think about the blemishes and the wrinkles and all. I'm thinking of just skin stuff, the stretch marks. I'm thinking of my mamas that are out there who have literally grown human beings inside of them. That's those marks on you. That's signs of life. That's signs of experience. Those are things to be celebrated, to be loved. And I cherish your skin. I cherish your skin. So this whole thing of the skin, This is our contemplation. And I set it down as an offering to you at this new moon time. And we have this just sort of secondary thing as where we're looking at each of these parts of our body and seeing where in our bodies, like how are our bodies a mirror of the body of the earth? So the atmosphere is kind of like the skin, right? The most clear distinction between earth and the great wide universe. This is sort of like an interesting secondary contemplation is how's my skin a mirror of the atmosphere, the sky of the earth. And that'll kind of help you connect and to the earth, which is what connecting to our bodies essentially does. It grounds us. It gets us like here and present on earth. This is our exploration for the moon cycle. If this seems juicy to you and you want to be guided through, meditation, through some ritual, some intention setting, there are two options. One, you can show up to any of the public Wild Woman Project circles that are happening all over the globe. Link below this video. Two, you can show up, you can download the New Moon virtual retreat with me. So it's going to be the same. It'll be a similar thing. It's like a circle for one on the computer. So you can download that. There's a link below this video. And in either of those experiences, you are going to be led into really deeply connecting to this. And you will emerge with a very clear intention for the cycle ahead. And intention can be extremely, extremely helpful, as I said at the beginning of the video, for like a fertile growth time. So that's part of what we're doing here is like we are consciously evolving. So if the skin subject and living in your own skin seems like something you're hungry for or curious about, show up to one of those two options. Okay. Oh, I want to say one more thing. Fall Wild Woman Project Circle Leader Training is starting very soon, in about a week and a half. And we just have like very few spots left. Next time we'll hold the training is in the spring. So if you are feeling called to hold space for other women, to learn how to create your own rituals and go deeper with the wild woman archetype and deeper in your connection to the moon and the moon cycles, I highly recommend this training and I would love to have you if you feel the call. So I am wishing you a rich, rich, rich moon cycle and a deep new moon time. And as always, I'll see you over at thewildwomanproject.com.